This is the BGG Climbers list for the week ending 2/3/2021. This list is put together by Michael Alexander. He does this list every week. There'll be links in the description to the list and to the Geeklist to subscribe to if you want to look at these lists yourself. Again, if you like this video, please like and please subscribe. Let's get into it. So we'll start with the notable followers. One interesting thing here is Lisboa. So if you actually notice, it has been increasing its average slightly, and its Bayesian average slightly, but it's been kind of waffling around, and I think that that's probably due to all the new ratings coming out at the beginning of the year, especially probably for games like Gloomhaven, Fallen Lion, or Jaws of the Lion, and other games that have kind of climbed a little bit. So it's kind of gone between like 70-ish and 66, and there's probably a lot of games in this range. Interestingly, it only has 6,000 ratings, so it's a pretty highly rated game for the number of ratings it has. For the sub 10 climbers, Viscounts of the West Kingdom is well on its way to hitting the top 100, I think. Yeah, I don't see how this one, assuming it continues to gain at this rate, it'll probably hit the top 100 in the next 6 months. And Pandemic Legacy Season 0. So this one is, actually, this is its worst week in quite a while. So it's at approximately 8.64 average, which pulled it down a little bit, although it wasn't a huge number of ratings. I'll be interested to see if this can continue, because in the upper 9 ratings it was having before, it was well on its way to top 10 land. But, if it falls down to this level, it probably won't hit it. And Dwellings of Eldervale. So this one has gotten a lot of really positive press. I think it is on the Dice Tower top 100 lists in some places. I don't remember where. And I think people have really enjoyed this game. Once more copies come out, I assume they're going to do a second printing on this. I just don't see how they don't. We're gonna see this in the top 100. I don't see how we don't, unless they don't print enough copies. Okay, and we'll go down to number 10, Renature. So we've looked at this game for a few weeks. It's been in the top 10. I think it's a good looking game, but the scores just haven't been trending high enough to get this thing into the top 100. I don't see it happening. I think it's kind of a lightweight game anyway. Although the wooden tiles look good, I think the theme is appealing. There's been a lot of nature theme games since Photosynthesis did so well. So that's number 10, Renature. Number 9 is Darwin's Journey. So this one continues to do well for a, I guess okay for a Kickstarter release. Interestingly, this average is a little bit lower than a lot of Kickstarter releases. I think a lot of Kickstarter releases get a lot of people putting 10s on there even before they play the game. Maybe this one people have played, or maybe it's the, put 10s on and I'm going to put a 0 because you put a 10. So we'll see this one. I think when it comes out is when we'll know what that one looks like. So that's Darwin's Journey, number 9. Number 8 is Lost Ruins of Arnak. So we've looked at this one for a few weeks. One thing I do want to talk about is, so it looks really good. I think I haven't played Dune Imperium, but as far as I can tell from the reviews, Dune Imperium is a more well-liked game. I think that's going to hurt the Lost Ruins of Arnak in some ways. Like if this had come out and it was the only worker placement deck building game of the year, it probably would do better than having to compete with Dune Imperium. And let's just see here. So one thing is this is clearly the better looking game. I think Dune Imperium just does not look good, and there were some other reviews I watched that said the same thing. I mean, these pieces look really good, like the gems and the arrowheads. The tablets, you can see them over here next to it. They just did such a good job with how these pieces look for this game that it actually, this is great. Someone painted them and put little eyes and drew the Explorer stuff on. I guess they did some washes on this to make it look better. But these little compasses and coins to add to it. But anyway, Lost Ruins of Arnak I think is a good game. I just don't think it's going to have staying power. But we'll see. We'll see on that. So that is Lost Ruins Arnak, number 8. I do think it's going to hit the top 100. I just expect it to eventually fall off, probably. So number 7 is Hallertau. So this one is interesting because it kind of started off a little bit weaker than I would have expected, but it's been gaining some momentum. If you actually look, it dropped for a while, and now it's coming up a few places, although the number of ratings is pretty low. So this is Uwe Rosensberg's latest farming game, and in this game, you are going to grow hops instead of, farming caves or trying to feed your family or doing what Vikings do, I guess. I mean, that's still a bit different game. But I think Hallertau, it's got the standard Uwe style of having a ton of, good-looking wooden components. It's got these, farming boards that look a little bit different than some of his previous games. It's got the hops theme, which I think is going to appeal to a lot of board gamers, both in Germany and the United States, and around the world. People like beer. I do like how these meeples look. One thing I'm interested is that it is a longer game, so 50 to 140 minutes, and recommended at 2 players is the best, which is, I mean, maybe the recommendations will change, but it means that it's going to be a long game, I think. I actually prefer Feast for Odin at 3. I think it plays the best because it gives you the interaction and without having the extra playtime of a 4th player. I don't know much more about this other than it's probably some expansion on his standard worker placement stuff that he's done in the past. I'm interested to try it out, though. So that's Hallertau. And just because it's a Rosenberg game, I think it has a top 100 chance, but we'll have to see how the ratings do. It isn't exceptionally strong start. Number 6 is Dice Throne Season 1 Rerolled. So we've talked about this one for a few weeks. It's basically a revised edition or a second print. A revised edition or second edition of Dice Throne Season 1. It kind of is sad because I have the original Dice Throne Season 1. I don't really want to get this, even though it does look better. But I think it's going to do well. The only question is because it is essentially a second edition that I don't think changes any mechanics, just changes the art and stuff. How many people are going to buy it and actually rate it? So that is Dice Throne Season 1 Rerolled. Number 5 is Kanban EV. So this one is rocketing up the charts. Kanban was a very popular game. This did make a couple tweaks to the game that you can actually use in the original Kanban. And it looks amazing. I think there's been a few reviews that have come out for it, which will help its case, but this game is just a really good-looking Ian O'Toole design, graphics design. Wow. That is awesome. These... that looks good. Yeah, I mean, I'm actually a big fan of Ian O'Toole. If I ever do a top 10 board game artists, he'll be on the list for sure. The graphics design of this, I think it makes it look really good. They relaid out the board to make it look a little bit more intuitive, I think. And they changed it from a horizontal track to a vertical track for moving between the stations. I think it works better. If I thought I was going to be playing Kanban a lot, I would definitely pick up this edition. I just don't see me playing Kanban a lot. I think I'd rather play other Lacerda games. So, where do we think this is going to end up? Well, I think it has a really good shot of being in the top 100 just because Kanban was already in the top 100. This is probably going to be bought by all the people that liked Kanban, or a lot of them. And, I liked Kanban, I just didn't see me playing it a lot. And so I think it's a good shot in getting in the top 100 and probably displacing the existing Kanban. So that's number 5, Kanban EV. Number 4 is Canvas. So this one is actually, it's staying pretty steady, climbing. This was a really big Kickstarter for, I think it was almost a year ago, or maybe even more, with some really, really nice graphics design. The card size is kind of reminiscent of Dixit, but with these kind of pointillism style paintings, I think. And it's not, I don't know, it's kind of like a mixture of styles, but it looks a little bit pointillism. There's probably a right word, a different, if I had all the different types of art in my mind. Anyway, the game is, I think, about creating these art masterpieces where you combine these overlays with it's a cool idea, right? You have these overlay cards, you put them on there, and you're creating this artwork. I like these little palettes. I think the graphics design of the game is really probably what attracted most people to this. It is a lighter weight game, so your complexity is 1.6, and I think that's just because of that, it's going to keep it out of the top 100. Typically, games that are that light don't. Now, I don't even know if one ended up on there, but there might be a couple really light games on there. It just makes it very difficult on BGG with the audience. So that is Canvas, number 4. Number 3 is Dune Imperium. So we've looked at this for a few weeks. This has got top 100 Destiny in it. I mean, it's gaining 100 per week, basically. So it's going to slow down when it gets closer to the top 100, but we're probably looking at in the next month for this thing to be in the top 100. It is getting incredible reviews. It's actually been improving a little bit. And people have said they didn't like how it looked, but the gameplay is so amazing with this game that it's just doing really well. I haven't played it, so I can't really comment on that, but this one is definitely ending up in the top 100. So that is Dune Imperium, number 3. Number 2. Oh yeah, that's interesting. I understand a lot of people have been playing it online. It got me wondering, will this be the highest ranking for an unreleased and physical board game ever? It's very possible, because I could see... Actually, this may be the very first game that they've ever released on Board Game Arena, like big, Kickstarter. I think there were some smaller ones that did this. Even before the Kickstarter came out, they put out the BGG, or the Board Game Arena game. And the accessibility of that, and the fact that it enforces all the rules for a game that's fairly complex, and there's a lot of little things to remember, I think has made this made the Kickstarter probably do way better than people would have expected otherwise. Which I highly recommend. Trying to play it on Board Game Arena is worth your time if you're interested in these heavier games. Or I guess this is definitely on the heavier level. One thing I would say about it is I think it's a solid game. I think that they've added some new stuff to it that I think the game actually needed, which is more companies or more diversity in companies. They're making some other improvements to the game. So it's good that either they had this stuff planned, or they're listening to people's feedback and saying, we can do this, we can make it better. That being said, we'll see if this ends up with the most ratings of any game that's unreleased in physical form. Probably, because there's going to be some time between when people get their copies and now. So that is Carnegie. Take a look at it if you haven't. If you like these heavier games, try it on Board Game Arena. And number 1 is Bloodborne, the board game. So this one is actually climbing a little bit in terms of ratings. Now, this is an Eric Lang design with a co-designer, I believe, Michael Chanel. I don't actually know what he did. And I'm interested to see how this does. This is, I think, his last game design when he worked at CMON. So, although for me, I highly doubt that it's going to beat Ankh, or maybe Ankh is going to be his last one, or Blood Rage. I think Ankh is a solid game, but definitely more complex. And I think Blood Rage is a really good mix of card drafting along with interactive play. It's a very interesting game. There's a lot of stuff here, though. That is a lot of stuff. I think this is just kind of a dungeon crawler. Let's look at this. So let's see what the mechanics are. Cooperative game, yeah, deck pool, hand management. So maybe this is like a cooperative dungeon crawler. Yeah. And the one thing I did notice from looking at this is the people that like the video game really like this board game. which is actually, I think, a good thing, because if you're building a board game off of like a video game IP, people that buy it want it to feel like the video game. They don't want it to feel like some other game that they, don't know anything about or don't have any connection to. And that's one of the reasons why I kind of stayed away from this, because I don't have any connection to the board game or to the video game. I haven't played it. I didn't think I was going to love it, like other people might. So there we have it. That is the #1 game of the week, Bloodborne, the board game. Again, if you like this video, please like and please subscribe, and please take a look at our other videos. Thank you.